Hilton is teaming up with Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter to reform the troubled teen industry.
Their Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act will be introduced later today, which aims to help states adopt practices to prevent and treat child abuse.
Imagine that, Republicans and Democrats coming together, an issue that personally affected Paris, who's using her experience with childhood trauma to inspire others to tell their stories. Both of them join us now. Welcome back.
Morning.
Paris,
morning.
good to see you. Congressman, good to see you.
Thank you.
Paris, could you tell everyone what experience you had with some of this institutional abuse? Because I remember last year you discussed it as well.
Yes, when I was 16, I was sent away and I was emotionally, verbally, physically, and sexually abused. And this is still happening today at these places, and 200,000 children are being sent away to these places every single year.
Were you able to call your parents and tell them?
I was not able to tell my parents because everything was monitored, and if I said anything negative about what was happening, they would immediately hang up the phone and punish me. So it was just terrifying, and I wasn't able to tell my family and was cut off from the outside world.
Sure. And Paris, what makes your story so potent is the fact that you are from a super prominent family, and people all around the world, when you started telling your story, it's like, hey, if that can happen to Paris Hilton, it can happen to anybody, right?
Yes, and that's why I'm doing everything I can in my power to fight for these children, because these are children who come from families that can't help and support them, and children from the juvenile justice system, foster care system, and they have no voice. So I'm really just turning my pain into a purpose and using my platform to help make a difference and save children's lives, because hundreds of children have died in the name of treatment in these places.
Congressman, I know you're introducing this federal bipartisan legislation, Reform Troubled Teen Industry Bill. Tell us about that and who's working with you.
Well, this is a very bipartisan, bicameral bill that we are introducing, and you know, this is so very important. And I just want to thank Paris for her courageous act of speaking up and speaking out about what happened to her. Because, look, you know, we witness these horrific events that it happened, or we see some of our adults who you know, are struggling, and we wonder, what happened? How could we have avoided this? Well, this is the kind of situation that we want to do. And what this bill is going to do is to enhance the collection of data and of information, so that we can see what the goals, what the practices, the ethics of some of these group homes and these facilities are, so that parents and children can make an informed decision on whether they want to participate or not.
So, Paris, what would qualify for something that you would look to attack and reform? For example, you were having some problems. Your parents sent you away, I guess, for some discipline. Sometimes people get in trouble with the law. What places do they go? Are these juvenile facilities?
Well, they could be juvenile facilities. They could also be, you know, as Paris witnessed and experienced, you know, it could be, and look, who among us did not struggle as a teen? I mean, that's just
right.
part of the normal growing up process. And that's why it's so very important we understand, look, there are some good facilities out there that provide care and counseling and treatment, but there are also some out there that cause physical and mental and you know, damage. And
so
that's
Paris,
where we're trying
thanks,
to
Congressman. I just asked Paris that question. What are the facilities out there that have been identified that need some reform? Do you have a number?
There are thousands of these schools, and they disguise themselves as emotional growth schools, wilderness camps, but these are just names that they put in. They have false advertising, and people have no idea what's happening behind closed doors.
So, Paris, what would be your advice to people that are watching that have teenage kids that have thought about sending their kids to these schools? Should they keep their children at home and not? Because if you're a parent, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. That's just horrible.
My advice is to do your research. There is so much online of what's happening at these places, and that's why it's so important that we pass this bill so there's oversight and regulation and transparency, so that people can't get away with what they're doing and are held accountable for their actions.
Sure. You know, Paris, as I think about your arc of celebrity, and we've known you for a very long time, America has. You're from a famous family, and you've been, you know, a celebrity, and you've done a lot of stuff in the public eye. This is the first time I can think of when you've really gotten involved in the political process. But in that process, you've had to reveal something so personal, so elementary to your soul, that had to be hard to say, you know what, I know it's important, but I'm going to lay bare what happened to me.
It's been extremely difficult. This was something that was so traumatic that I went through that I held it in for over 20 years. But when I found out that it was still happening today, I knew I couldn't sleep well at night knowing that, and I knew that I needed to use my voice and really turn my pain into a purpose and make a difference for other children's lives.
Yeah, the place you were at, Paris, and Congressman, well, Paris, we'll start. What has happened to the place you were at? Is it still in business? Are kids still there?
Yes, Provo Canyon School in Utah is still opening.
What happened to the
It's still
people who
open right
did
now,
this to
yes.
you?
The people are still working at these places. There are so many people that are child abusers, and there's just no regulations in these places. So they have really evil people that are running them.
So I'm looking at other sponsors, Congressman Carter. You got Ro Kahana. You have Senator Cornyn, Senator Jeff Merkley. He's going to be there. So all these guys across the aisle are looking to sponsor. Can you give us an idea what the legislation looks like?
Yeah, I'm very optimistic that we're going to get this passed. And you know, again, so often we wait until after the fact before we address these issues. This is an opportunity for us to address it before it even happens. That's why this is so vitally important. And look, this is not a partisan issue. This impacts all of us, regardless of what party you're in. If you have children, you have grandchildren that have been exposed to this, you want it to stop.
Paris, there are other people that are going to be speaking as well. Can you tell us about them? There's Caroline Cole, there's Kayla, Jessica, Sixto.
Yes, we're going to have survivors of the troubled teen industry with me today on stage. We're going to be at the Capitol speaking at 2:15 for a press conference today. And I'm just so proud of everyone for coming and telling their stories, because I know it's extremely difficult, but it's so important for us to be the voices of so many who don't have a voice.
Yeah. Congressman, I know it's bipartisan, as you introduce it. Who could be against this?
That's a good question. I don't know who could be against this. You know, I think we all agree that we need to address these issues before they become problems. And we can identify this. And parents and children want to make an informed decision. And that's all we're trying to do here is data collection, to get information about what the practices are, what the goals are, what the ethics are of these facilities.
All right.
Well, Paris, we're so proud of you. Congressman, thank you for doing this. Paris, we watched your reality show all those years ago. You just had me in stitches. It was so funny to see these two girls coming from California and trying to live on the farm. It was really funny. And then to see what you've done with your fame, God bless you. I think you're doing wonderful things, and you're helping so many other children and informing parents.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right. Have a great day, guys. Thank you. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.